As we grow older, we change ourselves as much as we gain our first encounters. The first contact with love, sexuality, and identity. Contrasting to reality's restrictions, the world of nowhere paints these encounters in a sensual world of liberation, one that is dazzling and surreal. Yet, despite all its freedom, why does this film feel so empty? In Gregg Araki's Nowhere Utopia, why is hope nowhere to be found? Nowhere is introduced with a sensual feel for the character Dark. The character Dark Smith, played by James Duval, is a contrast to the white backdrop, as he sticks out amongst the plain and bleak corners, hunting himself around images of imagining encounters, and like a teenage boy enjoying himself, he gathers those that are pleasurable. But with all idealized fantasies comes the disturbance of reality.
Are you in there flogging the puppy again? Let me in, I gotta wash this crap off my face.
Mom, can you wait just a sec, please?
Dark is now outside his daydream and faces the cold embrace of a different kind of haven. A reality usurped by free will and the wasteland void of any infringement. The characters in this nowhere are liberated from any social constructs. They act and please themselves and with others as much as they'd like. Most of these characters pop out from the ordinary, and they are laced with a sort of irony amongst them. His unspoken rule in Nowhere establishes the dynamic nature of Dark's relationship with his girlfriend Mel. They are in an open relationship, but Dark questions the genuinity of their bond. Mel, played by Rachel True, is free-spirited and kisses anyone she's attracted to. She treats their relationship as a passing experience, viewing it with the go-with-the-flow mentality. The opening plot where Dark is shown to be editing a documentary on who he cares about for this school project reflects the unseriousness in the relationship. Dark, Mel, and their friend Lucifer all gather around to dine at the Hole. This is where they pick up Montgomery, a naive and shy teen who shares the same classes with Dark. Dark continues the film for his documentary and allures himself to Montgomery. As the film rolls, it grows to be more absurd, with characters pointing out that today is Armageddon Day.
All in preparation for the rapture, ascending into heaven on the day that Christ returns to earth and the world is destroyed. And according to those scriptures, today is that day.
So like what am I supposed to do now?
As such, Montgomery in particular becomes frantic and anxious, with his preconceived notions of the end validated by internal and external pressures around him. And this absurdity grows ever more clear with Araki's choice of blending the supernatural and underworld. Dark encounters a lot of these disconnected figures, a theme that would be relevant all throughout the film. And while there are a lot of side plots encapsulated on the 82-minute reel, they are all unified by a central event, Judy Fruit's party. The acclaimed party is perceived to be the pinnacle of tenets, of youth rebellion, a clique of all the charged spirits destined to connect with one another. And so, with this tumultuous amount of energy, riots and violence and turmoil ensue. This is a vital moment that leads to a sort of disconnection with our main characters, namely Dark and Montgomery. They escape this utopia with their view of liberation permanently disfigured.
It is yours, Speak. All yours, and all you have to do is believe.
Nowhere is a vague film, notably influenced by David Lynch's surrealist work and Jean-Luc Godard's expressivism. This film and many other films like it from the new queer cinema era stood out by adapting these characteristics as a rebellion to modern cinema. They were a response to the fear and anger arising from the political scene at the time, especially as the AIDS epidemic started to claim the lives of those infected. Nowhere, released in 1997, was the last edition of the Teen Apocalypse trilogy by Araki, all of which were remnants of this time period. Nowhere in particular is an insight to what teenagers felt, especially queer teenagers, a crisis within themselves and the world around them. Add to that were the equal rise and prevalence of evangelicals, of preachers who wanted to spread the ways off the right path to help the young steer clear of the moral ills of society. Araki showed this concept remarkably well with his side plot to the character act, critiquing idolatry, both in a metaphorical and physical sense. In the movie, Egg meets a popular teen idol from Baywatch, played by actor Jason Simmons. His name is never really explicitly stated, but it is implied that everyone knows who he is. In the Nowhere world, he is a star so perfect and untouchable. However, later down the film, we see who he really is, a man of violence with uncontrollable desires. His character is a chap with the shallow nature of media consumption. Our idealized perceptions and parasocial relationships with these often artificial personalities perpetuate us to follow them blindly, without ever knowing who they truly really are. Araki strengthens this notion by masking the irony of televangelism with the X situation. Shallow media consumption leads us to seek shallow ideas, empty words where we may find temporary comfort. Overproduced content mass distributed by greedy churches provide nothing but an echo chamber, an ineffective refuge. And as more people fall for this trap, these churches take advantage of the vulnerable, getting richer. As for the people desperate to find faith, they're now more lost than ever. For queer teens at the time, there was literally nowhere to go. Nowhere to find solace and retreat away from the dissonance in their lives and beyond. On one side, there was impending doom with the gay lifestyle, and on the other was an ideology to strip away yourself of any individuality. With these contexts in mind, we can see why Nowhere is what it is. Nowhere is essentially a teen utopia. It is an amalgamation of what every teen wants in life: liberation, so free sex, limited parties, a distorted and slowed sense of time, and endless adventures awaiting them. Nowhere is not a place, but rather a concept, a wasteland of dreams far away from the conventions of the real world, as an escapade for the teens plagued by nihilism. But in this utopia, there is a lingering sense of emptiness despite all its chaos, symbolized by Tutti Fruit's party. But before Dark and his gang go on this party, they play hide and seek involving drugs and booze. This section goes on with Dark playing as it and eventually finds everyone except Montgomery. Mont is seen to have encountered an otherworldly being, and what's left from his hiding spot is his cross necklace. Dark sees this and wonders where Montgomery might have went. Montgomery is someone perceived to be a wanderer of this Nowhere world. We view him as a naive character, often observing the environment around him like Dark. In some aspects, they are truly alike. They both view that the world of Nowhere where everything is supposed to be free-spirited isn't. They both are wanderers of a shallow world, aiming to find a deeper connection. This playful sequence is a projection of Nowhere's true message, as Montgomery represents a will to connect, away from the sarcastic claustrophobia of the outside world and beyond the innate destruction of one's deepest and darkest desires. And in this metaphor, Dark looks for Montgomery everywhere, even during the party, subconsciously aiming to make sense of the world they are in. But he never finds him, for now at least. In an interview by Fuel, James Duval was asked, "What's Nowhere about for you, for your character?" Duval replies, stating Dark Smith's search is the ideal search for love. For him, it's not about the party or the drugs, though some of his friends are very sexually active or doing a lot of drugs, and that's okay. With him, it's about love, and he will go wherever he has to go to find that or to keep it. Jill, the interviewer, continues, which is pretty far. How realistic do you think Nowhere's depiction of teen life is? Duval explains this beautifully by stating, in a way, it's exactly the way I remember seeing everything. When you're a teenager and your hormones and emotions are reaching out of control, you do develop this sense of hyper-reality about the world you live in. It's like you are born, you fall in love, and you die 3 or 4 times a day. Your world is the whole world, and if that falls apart, the world is over. And in that sense, I'm surprised at how accurately that Araki has it portrayed. Duval's insight basically defines what Nowhere is, a hyper-reality concocted by puberty. Growing up and feeling all of these intense, conflicting emotions can be overwhelming. Most teens are exposed to this heightened world and feel compelled to explore it, through drugs, sex, and booze, often without ever acknowledging actual reality. For those who choose instead to observe and try to understand the world around them, the teenage journey can feel deeply isolating. While their peers chase sensation, these teens are searching for meaning, For them, there's a profound longing for connection, a hope that together they can make the sense of the chaos and confront reality hand in hand. Our main characters are now at Jujutsu's party. It's basically on steroids. Mel's brother, Zero, and his girlfriend Zoe are young and are drawn to this party. They pretty much do everything they can just to get there. This denotes the youth's curiosity, the desire to get a glimpse of what awaits them when they get older. What drives them to this party is the older teens that advertise free will, a limitless world. A lot of unhinged things happen in this sequence. Lust permeates this party, inching between everyone at display. However, despite all its quirks, the party feels somewhat desolate and void of any substance. Dark now sees his relationship with Mel as a bond that's shallow. Mel serves as a counterpoint to Dark's character. Mel is free and in the moment, but Dark wants something deeper. Moreover, Ducky, ex-brother, gets the news of her death and tries to drown himself as a result. Even a fight ensues, with the character bludgeoning his enemy with a tomato soup can. But nobody seems to care. Everybody is drunk out of their mind to notice the extraterrestrial beings lurking around. Araki shaped this party as a teenage haven, checking all the tropes, the wild house, the reckless hookups, the chemical highs, the aesthetic overload. But beneath the hypercolor chaos is a quiet void, one that none of the characters can escape. Dark's desire for real connection is drowned in the static of sex, noise, and detachment. This existential dread is potent in all of Araki's choices of soundtrack and mise-en-scène. The choice of Sodive and Catherine will represent a need to dissociate early on, serving as the soundtrack to the backdrops of pure white at the start, while 9 Inch Nails and Sonic Youth reverberate against the colorful hues of the party, coinciding with this need to disconnect from reality. Sammy's world best describes Araki's vision through this insight. Instead of furthering a utopic vision of adolescence, Araki injects existentialist dread into his films, providing no way out for his characters. They have accepted their doomed fates in this world, so all that's left to do is explore their atypical desires without inhibition. The film continues with Dark attempting to leave the party and goes home. He feels doomed and helpless, yearning for someone to connect on a deeper level. Out of the blue, Montgomery appears, a sign of hope from the heavens. Now, Montgomery and Dark have each other, connecting immediately amidst the chaos around them. But in a sudden turn of events, Montgomery starts asphyxiating and explodes, and turns into a cockroach-like human-sized being. It's a weird take on Kafka for sure. Director Gregg Araki was asked, how did the ending of Nowhere, in which Dark and Montgomery's romance gets interrupted by some last-minute body horror, come to you? Gregg Araki responds by saying, obviously I've read Metamorphosis by Kafka. I remember sitting in Insomnia Cafe on Beverly Hills in Hollywood. I used to write my scripts longhand there. I don't know where it came from exactly. That scene, which has become legendary because it's such a crazy scene, was not supposed to be in the real movie. The idea was it would end with the two of them in bed together. Then the scene was supposed to be at the end of the credits after everybody had left. When I was editing, I realized I had put it into the movie. Conscious decision or not, Araki's spontaneous twist of Kafka elevated the central idea of the teen dread. In the Metamorphosis, Kafka uses the vermin as the modern man living amidst external and internal pressures. In a way, Montgomery is Araki's vermin, and a pseudo-utopia with an idea of distorted freedom. Soul-searching becomes a soul-sucking act when one thinks there is nowhere for them to go. Teens like Montgomery, or even Dark, might just try to escape reality, away from everything. In the end, we're left with a question that echoes louder than any party soundtrack. In a world that promises total freedom, why do we still feel so empty? Phil asks Duval, what about those critics who think Gregg Araki's a nihilist? He responds by saying, well, sometimes Gregg's films do make people shift in their seats. They're not always easy to watch. But life isn't always easy to watch. And as much as people say, his movies are in your face, they're really wild and crazy, and he has this negative view of the world, Gregg is still a very romantic and idealistic person. Duval further expands, saying, that's what he related to. That was definitely something I always used to talk to him about. Gregg, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die because I can't be what I want to be. Nobody wants to see love or let it be what it can be. Everybody has to shut it down or be jaded or think that it doesn't exist, when all you have to do is open yourself up to it. Why can't people do that? And in a way, it was killing me, not physically, but mentally. I was definitely a tortured kid. I just wanted to be loved. Why can't I get what I want to give? Jill then asks, "And what did Araki tell you?" James responds, Jimmy, you're 18. It's not the end of the world. But it did feel like the end of the world, and he understands that. You know, we were both searching for the same thing. That one magical person, that one magical moment when what you want to give is given back. Hope is a recurring theme in many of Araki's films during this time period. But in Nowhere, it simply lingers. It's close yet feels unattainable. The world seems to be ending, but only through Dark's perspective. The film cuts to black in a blink of an eye, leaving us with open-ended questions. Like Nowhere, most of us are like charged particles, hoping to bond with one another. Some become unstable, repelling others entirely. Most, however, are passive observers, watching, yearning for liberation, and dreaming of an aware world. But hope flees when it's not held tightly. And so, like Montgomery, we may never truly see beyond our fragmented minds.